After First Contact, Star Trek movies abandoned TNG's coolest Enterprise edition. Star Trek First Contact is widely regarded as the finest film outing of the Star Trek The Next Generation crew. It combined thrilling action, compelling time travel, a menacing Borg threat, and rich character drama. But one of its most visually and conceptually impressive elements, an update that felt like a leap forward in Starfleet design, was quietly dropped in the following movies: the Enterprise E's dedicated battle bridge and enhanced combat systems. This tactical upgrade, showcased in First Contact, represented the most battle-ready version of the Enterprise yet, a fitting evolution for a Federation increasingly facing existential threats. Yet, after this cinematic debut, this bold addition all but vanished. This abandonment represents a larger thematic and aesthetic shift in the TNG movies that followed First Contact. Instead of doubling down on the futuristic, militarized evolution of Starfleet in a hostile galaxy, Insurrection and Nemesis pivoted back to more intimate, isolated conflicts, depriving audiences of seeing the full potential of one of Starfleet's most powerful ships. The Enterprise E, a warship for a new era. When the Enterprise D was destroyed in Star Trek Generations, it marked the end of the Galaxy-class starship that had become a home to fans throughout 7 seasons. Its replacement, the Sovereign-class Enterprise E, was sleeker, faster, and designed with battle in mind. Where the D had a wide saucer and felt like a diplomatic vessel or interstellar cruise ship, the E was narrow, aggressive, and practical. In First Contact, the Enterprise E's combat prowess was immediately established. The film opened with Captain Picard being denied permission to join the fight against the Borg, only to later disobey orders and swoop in heroically. The ensuing space battle allowed the audience to see the E in action, and it delivered. The ship featured an advanced battle bridge distinct from the standard bridge layout, enhanced tactical displays and real-time threat assessments, sleek red alert lighting systems for immersive battle aesthetics, more frequent torpedo and phaser usage with faster firing rates, a military-ready hull structure emphasized through cinematography. The Sovereign-class design embodied the reality that the Federation's enemies, Borg, Dominion, and Romulans alike, were no longer adversaries that diplomacy could always solve. Starfleet was evolving, and the Enterprise E represented that evolution. Star Trek's growing tension with militarization. The introduction of the Enterprise E wasn't just a visual or technical upgrade. It was symbolic of Starfleet's difficult balance between peacekeeping and defense. In First Contact, this theme is explored through Captain Picard's personal rage against the Borg. His willingness to sacrifice his crew for revenge highlights the psychological consequences of war and trauma. This darker tone fit the aesthetic of the new ship. Inside, the Enterprise E felt more like a naval command vessel than its predecessor. Hallways were narrower. Lighting was dimmer. The bridge exuded tension. When the Borg took over parts of the ship, it felt like a submarine being slowly invaded by water pressure, tight, claustrophobic, and full of dread. Despite being a beacon of diplomacy, the Federation was forced to confront a galaxy where power and survival were increasingly intertwined. The Enterprise E was Starfleet's answer to that crisis, and First Contact embraced this evolution. Insurrection, a step backward. However, the next film, Star Trek Insurrection 1998, significantly downplayed these advancements. The tone of the movie was intentionally lighter, closer in spirit to a TNG television episode than a major film. While First Contact leaned into action and warfare, Insurrection centered around a moral dilemma, an isolated alien planet, and a philosophical debate about forced relocation. Gone were the strategic shots of the battle bridge or the enhanced tactical systems. Though the Enterprise E returned, it was no longer treated as a formidable warship. Instead, it spent most of the movie ferrying characters back and forth or being sabotaged internally. When action did occur, it was brief and focused on one-on-one combat or isolated skirmishes in a shuttlecraft. The choice to pivot away from the militarized Starfleet made sense in terms of narrative tone. Insurrection was about defying corrupt orders from Starfleet Command, not leading an all-out assault. But this thematic shift meant that the cool, advanced elements of the Enterprise E, and especially the combat-ready battle bridge, were completely sidelined. The technological upgrades that made First Contact feel like a true evolution of the TNG aesthetic simply vanished. Nemesis. Wasted potential. When Star Trek Nemesis 2002 rolled around, there was hope that the Enterprise E would finally return to form. The film's darker tone, along with its new Romulan villain Shinzen, suggested a return to the gritty, tactical warfare that First Contact balanced so well. For a time, it seemed to be the case. Nemesis gave fans a dramatic, drawn-out space battle between the Enterprise E and the massive Romulan warship Scimitar. But even in this climactic battle, the movie ignored one of the Enterprise E's most exciting features, the battle bridge. Rather than making use of this strategic command center in the heat of war, the main bridge remained the default throughout. Even as the Enterprise took massive damage, including a near-fatal ramming maneuver, the battle bridge never came into play. It was as if the filmmakers forgot the ship had this capability at all. And while the final conflict was visually impressive, it lacked the layered sense of command and control that First Contact offered. There were no cutaways to crew working in tandem on the battle bridge, no montage of ship systems rerouting power or managing shields from a secondary command center. Instead, it was a traditional starship slugfest, highly destructive but lacking the tactical edge that the Enterprise E was designed for. Why the battle bridge mattered. The Enterprise D had a battle bridge too, used sparingly but memorably. In the next generation, it came into play when the saucer section separated or when the ship faced high-level threats. Its presence suggested contingency plans and chain-of-command sophistication. For Starfleet to trust its flagship with so much power, there had to be layered systems in place. The battle bridge wasn't just a set, it was a philosophy of operational depth. On the Enterprise E, the battle bridge represented that same ideology, now made even more relevant as Starfleet navigated a more dangerous galaxy. It created opportunities for visual storytelling, shifting command during emergencies, changing camera angles for a fresh perspective, and showcasing the inner workings of Starfleet tactical operations. Its abandonment in the later TNG movies robbed the franchise of a sense of realism and progression. As audiences had become accustomed to more nuanced and strategic science fiction, especially with the rise of serialized shows like Battlestar Galactica or even Deep Space Nine, this regression felt like a step backward. Star Trek's ongoing struggle with tone. The inconsistent use of the Enterprise E's features reflects a broader Star Trek struggle, how to balance its utopian ideals with the darker, more militarized storytelling that modern audiences often gravitate toward. First Contact struck that costs, but it also